actual and then some actual activities. So that's the beauty of doing it in person. We'll actually be able to do some activities, discussion. We usually, the lecture portion of it focuses a lot on what the research is out there on all of, I'll share with you the curriculum, but basically each of the topics, we do a bit of a deep dive into what the research says, both in terms of, you know, it could be statistics, but also more importantly, what kind of interventions are out there to help people, and what appears to be evidence-based at this point, what things maybe are emerging, but maybe not really at the evidence-based level. And sometimes we also address what's out there that's just downright scammy. There's no evidence for it, and people, you know, might see information in all sorts of media but don't know what to make of it. So I will hand out, this gives you the topics for each of the 8 weeks, so you'll have an idea of what, you know, just pass them back and maybe pass those the other direction. So at this point, the curriculum, and it's very fluid, as the few of you that participated before may know. Try not to rush through so that there's ample opportunity for people to ask questions or to pursue things that are of specific interest. But in theory, the 8 sessions cover, we start by talking about cognitive health in general. And what does it mean to be cognitively healthy? And then we talk about what does it mean if somebody were to say that you had mild cognitive impairment, or what would it mean if somebody said that you had dementia? So we go through kind of the different diagnoses, and we talk about conditions, and specifically, obviously, Parkinson's and how that may affect cognition, and what specific areas of cognition appear to be impacted. The second session, there's a lot of focus on what do we know about if you're having memory problems, which is just one piece of cognitive skills, but it's the one that oftentimes is what people most focus on. So we'll talk about, there's plenty of strategies out there, things that you can do to try to both help yourself potentially improve some aspects of your memory, but also, again, some compensatory strategies. So if you're not recalling something, what are some strategies that you can use? The third session is on physical activity and exercise, because we know that that plays a huge role in cognition and maintaining cognition. And I'll just add in here that for each session, we always have an exercise piece. And I'm not sure, I think it's going to be you and Liz, right? Doing the exercise piece.
I haven't talked to Liz about it.
Oh, okay.
But we can do that when we start,
Okay.
yeah.
So we try to introduce you to some different types of exercise strategies that you can use to help yourself. And we definitely look at the research, because I'm sure you probably heard that says not all exercise is equal. And specifically when we're talking about cognition, some types of exercise may be great for you physically, but they don't necessarily have a huge benefit cognitively. So we talk about the specific types of physical activity that really seems to help with cognition. And then we do have a section on nutrition. And we talk about a lot of the things that you would hear, I'm sure, from Chea, if you heard Chea Charles speak before. She's a former co-worker of both me and Pat, so I've learned a lot from her, and I try to summarize what the research is on Parkinson's and diet and cognition. And then we spend a whole session on stress reduction, relaxation strategies, because we also know that if you're stressed out, if you're feeling anxious, it's going to affect your cognition. So how do you try to keep things as as even keel as possible in learn coping strategies. I added a whole section on sleep because I think that is such a critical topic, and it's across the board, not just with Parkinson's, but across the board. Sleep does not get the attention that it deserves, and it impacts all of us and everything that we do. So I spend a good bit of time talking about sleep and sleep strategies, and to some extent, specific issues that are associated with Parkinson's. And then we do a whole session just on the different types of activities that you can engage in that are mentally challenging. And then we end with how to be smart, as you're looking at treatment options relative to cognition. There's a lot of quackery out there. So how do you be a critical thinker in regards to not even what evidence-based, but what's right for you? Because we each have our own individual challenges cognitively. So what might be well worth time for one person might not be very valuable for somebody else. So there is also a piece of what we do actually early on in the course, which involves your own self-assessment to look at, how are you doing across some different areas of cognitive function. So that we can cut up on that. And ideally, we like to have you actually do an action plan throughout the duration of the course. So you kind of identify where you're at cognitively. You identify the types of strategies that you want to try. And the group is a way of keeping people somewhat accountable. So you come back and you kind of report back. Well, I tried walking twice a week and didn't work so well because it was snowing. It was a blizzard and I wasn't able to go out on. Okay, then we come back and problem solve. So that by the end of the whole course, you have your own plan. This is what I want to continue working on so that you don't just walk away from the class and that's the end of the story. And I like to remind people, you'll see this a lot, the criticism of some of the cognitive strategies or activities that are out there. People are like, well, I did it for 6 weeks and it didn't work because here I am a year later and I got it. Like, well, did you keep doing it? I didn't know it. You're like, well, no, but I thought, if I just did it for 6 weeks, I'd be golden. And it's just like physical activity. You can't come to the gym and do it for a few weeks and think that your muscles are going to be as strong as they were when you were actually working out. So we really want people to take away something that you're going to continue to work on or continue to explore after the class. So that's pretty much a lifelong grade class. Does anybody have any questions about that? We do have a curriculum, but I will also say, try to be responsive to what people need or want. So we might stray a little bit, but for the most part, with lifelong brain health, we kind of stick to those topics. This will be in person. Yeah. So each class basically, there'll be a little bit of that lecture. We'll do some actual activities, we'll do some physical exercise, and we'll do the action plan.
You also what you did last year.
That is you're talking about the lifelong brain health class?
Once we had.
Yes, so this is the same curriculum. Yep, but we'll be able to add in the activities. And I know it's a lot more challenging to hold people accountable on Zoom. So a few people are like, I did the homework, but not a ton. So I'm hoping the in-person will actually be a little bit more inspiring on that level for people, encouraging.
those classes still here?
So we're gonna do the lifelong brain health class at Engage, which is on East Genesee Street, kind of across from Nottingham High School. They have a relatively small classroom. I don't know what, I guess you're saying 10, so I guess that's the capacity.
Yeah, I think it would hold up to 20 people if we put your, yeah, but we're only gonna do the class for 10 out of caution over the COVID. We just don't want to pack that room. And like I said, I don't know if you were here, Jim, but this is an ongoing project, cognitive health. It's like Ellen says, you have to keep working on it, and we're going to keep doing presentations on it. So we'll do this, and then we'll talk about what we'll do in the winter, spring too.
Or if you folks on Zoom, feel free to chime in. All right, so I'm going to move on. So speaking of needing to continue to work on things, so the way we encourage people to continue working on their cognitive skills is through our Empower You program. And as Pat was saying, so that's just a standalone program, basically, of Syracuse Jewish Family Service. There is a fee involved, and it's between $40 and $45 a session, depending on whether you pay in advance or you pay per time. But that's a program we've been offering for, we're in our 6th year now. And we have 2 different existing groups, and we were going to offer a 3rd group that was specific to Parkinson's. So Empower You was designed for people who are having very mild cognitive changes or are eventually have early stage dementia. And right now, our group, pretty much like most of the people who come to our existing groups, drive themselves to the group and function pretty well, but they're interested in learning and continuing to push themselves to learn and practice strategies to keep themselves cognitively healthy. And one of the things, one of the impetus for our program was that there was no program at that point like that in the community. So people who were experiencing fairly mild cognitive changes had nobody to go to. They had no place to go. And in many cases, they didn't have any connections to other people who had that condition. Now, with the Empower Parkinson's, obviously you guys have a community of people here. So that was a huge need when we started Empower You, and I think it still is for the folks who come to our group. It may not play as huge a role for the people who are involved with Empower Parkinson's. But that program is a weekly ongoing program, and it's not a therapy group or a support group per se, but it certainly has a very supportive function. So people are getting together with other individuals who are having similar challenges. Unlike the Lifelong Brain Health program, we don't have a set curriculum. And what I brought today is actually a repeat of what I did yesterday with our ongoing group. But just be aware, as I walk you through some of what we did, the group for Empower Parkinson might look very different because it's really based on the participants and what you want out of the group. So we've kind of evolved. Some of the people that are in our group have been with us the whole time. So we know what they're interested in, but they're also always telling us, this is an area that I want to explore more. And so we do it. So there's nothing written in stone as far as what that program has to look like. But I'm going to give you, I think I have enough or just nearly enough copies. This is a flyer about Empowering You. And typically our existing programs have been 4-hour sessions every week. But what we're looking at doing with the Parkinson's group is starting out with 3 hours, because of, for some people, 4 hours physically just might be very challenging. So to start out with 3 hours and see, if people want us to go the full 4 hours, we can do that. But the 3-hour period includes lunch. We don't usually have pizza, but we do have good and sandwiches. And lunch is a kind of a informal time to continue to provide support to others as well as receive support. There are basically a few goals of the group. So the foundation is those social connections between people. And then one of the really important goals of the group is to help people really feel confident and feel like you can still continue to learn and grow. One of the things that we often see with people with cognitive challenges is that they lose some of their confidence. Everybody got the flag? Oh, I have an extra.
Everybody get one?
And for those of you on Zoom, if anybody needs a copy, sorry, I can always send stuff back.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had it go.
Okay. So a really critical goal, as I was saying, is that oftentimes people, if they're having cognitive challenges, they start to feel, and they will actually say things like, "I'm really stupid now." And what we try to show people is, you're not stupid. You have the same, intellectual ability. You can participate. You can continue to learn and grow. And so we want people to continue to use their skills, because if you start backing away, you will use your skills. So we're trying to encourage people to keep up on their skills. And then we're also showing people that not only can they learn for themselves, but usually everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. So people help other people in the group. So that's an opportunity to both strengthen your own skills by teaching somebody else and also get back for people in the group. What I'm going to do, it's going to be a challenge to eat pizza and look at this, but you can do it outside. I'm going to hand out, this is just a sample agenda. And again, this was based on what we did yesterday. I can email stuff out, no problem. I can always send it back, you can send it to anybody. I'll leave you my share. Okay, just pass those around. Grab one. And go. So as this goes around, I'll just tell you, this is the general format for our existing. We kind of started informally, people, filter in, chit chat. And then any sorts of announcements that might be relevant. So I've actually put in, announcements about the upcoming conference for Empower Parkinson, making sure people are aware that the conference is coming up, that there's a caregiver seminar coming up. And then we ask anybody else to share anything that they're aware of in the community. We like to start out with jokes, which may seem kind of silly, but joke telling actually requires a lot of cognitive skill. And first of all, you have to remember the joke, which I'm terrible at. I could not tell a punchline like to save my life. So it's a big cognitive challenge for me. I don't have to love that really now. He's the correct. So we ask people to bring a joke and share a joke. The group that we do on Mondays is really into puns, which is also very good because it requires what they talk about in the cognitive world as flexible thinking. So if you've got a pun, you have to, more typically we think of like the term thinking out of the box, where you have to think in some creative ways. So that's a good cognitive skill to practice. And then I've been bringing in actually what we call brain cramps. I don't even know where I got this. I found it in my house. It's a deck of cards with questions. But I found them to be actually kind of interesting. So if we're gonna do this kind of like a group, would anybody here like to start by telling a joke? Anybody brave enough to tell a joke? Okay.
This group of NASA astronauts got to Mars finally. And they flew on the dark side of the planet. And they found all these open air restaurants, with big tents over them. And they got it there and they came back to, they ate and they came back to Dallas and said, what's it like? They found restaurants on the dark side of the planet. How was it? How was it? The food was great, but the atmosphere was terrible.
I don't know if you guys can hear it on Zoom, and because I'm a terrible joke teller, I'm not going to even attempt to retell it. I'll let Pat retell it if it needs to. All right, anybody else want to share a joke?
Can't remember them.
Okay.
I remember.
I can't remember them yet. That's my story. All right, so I'll give you a brain cramp. We did this yesterday. None of us got it. I had to look for a hint. Okay, the first 6 letters of the top row of a standard typewriter or keyboard spell the letters QWERTY, QWERTY. Okay, is anybody here a good typist that knows the whole top of the keyboard? No? Okay. Thus, it is known as a QWERTY keyboard. What 10-letter word beginning with T and ending with R can be typed by using only the top row of letters on a QWERTY keyboard or typewriter? I'm going to start by giving you one hint that even this didn't help us, but somebody, I wouldn't have thought this, but somebody pulled out their cell phone and, if you're going to text, you see the keyboard. So there are other letters on that top line of the keyboard. Does anybody know what the other letters are? Very good. P-I-O-U. I think that's all of them, right? Yeah, excellent. So QWERTY and then POUNI. Wow, that's awesome. Okay. What's that? PIOU. That's the actual order. POIU. Okay. So if you have a free hand and you want to write it down, you can. Anybody want to try it? We spent about 10 minutes trying to figure this out and came up empty-handed until I gave them a better. And it's not.
Can they look at it? The letters?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have a cell phone and you want to pull up your letters, but.
I definitely can't do it.
Do something to write up. All right. Some of these are trick questions. This one actually is not. There is a word. So 10 letters, QWERTY, and then POIU. And it starts with a T and ends with an R.
You made it 10 letters.
Q, W, R, T, Y, P, O, I, U. That's the first line of a keyboard, any standard keyboard. And it begins with. And you can reuse the letters however many times you need to, but you don't have to use all the letters. You got it?
Typewriter.
All right. Did everybody hear that?
Typewriter.
Typewriter is the word. I'm impressed. I had to actually look at the answer and tell people the answer is in the question somewhere. Good job. All right. So that's usually how we start off our day, with a little bit of a brain challenge. We sometimes have kind of a theme to our group, not always, but occasionally. And the theme this yesterday was actually scams. And the reason was because one of our participants sent me an email and she said, what do you think about Cerebra? I'm like, I have no idea what Cerebra is. Has anybody here ever heard of Cerebra? You have. Where did you hear about it? On TV. Okay, I wonder if that's what she'd seen that. A commercial on TV. Okay. So it turns out when I looked it up, I don't watch TV because we don't get any reception on them. Too cheap to buy cable. So I don't see all those wonderful ads that are out there. Cerebra is a supplement that supposedly helps with memory, including, they say, for Parkinson's. So I ended up, this is sort of an example of how we go with whatever is of interest to people. So I ended up pulling up information about Cerebra and also more generally about supplements and how to be kind of a critical thinker around supplements. And so we did a portion of our session yesterday on that. So one of the things that we try to do each week, you may have heard that people encourage like learning a new language might be helpful for cognition. So we like to do kind of a word of the day. So the word of the day yesterday was scam, and we go through, and fortunately we have somebody who is very good with French, somebody who's good with German, somebody who's good with Polish. We don't have anybody who's good with Irish, and that's like the hardest thing to figure out by looking at. Does anybody here speak Gaelic or Irish? No. Yeah, it's very hard. But anyway, so we did word of the day, so pass those around. And we included American Sign Language. And this was the most complicated sign I've ever seen. And I watched it over and over, somebody demonstrating online, and I still don't think I have it. But if you want to try it, the best that I can. Does anybody here know sign language? Yeah, well, maybe help me out if you do. I think this is the letter S. So if you form the letter S with, I believe your right hand, but I'm not sure it really matters. But if you want to try it, it's just close your fist and put in your thumb up here. And then you just take your pointer finger, and it looks like you go up like that with the pointer finger, but then you come down with this here, like this. And that's what it, as best we could, we tried even slowing down the Zoom video, but it looked like it comes down like that, and then you do that. So it's a kind of a complicated sign. But anyway, so if you want to practice it, oh, this is a good cognitive challenge, actually. Sweet with your index finger. And that is scam. I some of the signs are obvious where they come from. I don't know what that means or where it comes from. And then we just go around and we practice the other words. Does anybody here, is anybody good with French here that wants to try pronouncing it? No. That was my worst language I ever studied. Well, how would you say? That works for me because I really don't know. Okay, I'm better at Spanish. Anybody good with Spanish? Yeah, that's stop, right? How about the Italian? Truth. Anybody good with German? Yeah. Yeah. How do you know? The truth. But truth. Like, okay. The truth. Okay. How about the Russian or Ukrainian? We kind of laugh, scam is such a small word, but in Russian and Ukrainian, it's like a big word. Anybody want to try it out? No. How about Polish? We have somebody in our group grew up. Did you know there's like a city within Detroit? It's like completely surrounded by Detroit. And it's very, or at least back in the day, apparently it was all Polish people. And so he's our Polish expert. I can't remember the name of that city. I'm drawing a blank right now. But anyway, I think he said it was something like something like that. But not certain. So, okay, so that's our word of the day. I'm gonna give you the article that I handed out. So sometimes do not consider this a good source. I'm just telling you that up front so nobody gets confused by this. I pulled up this article and it was called Cerebra Review. Does Cerebra really work and is it safe to use? And at the top, it's from Consumer Health Digest, your trusted source for good health. I'm not sure that that's true, but what's that?
That's the kiss of death.
That's the kiss of death, yeah. So I think we have time to do this. What we did yesterday is we went around and somebody read each section. And we tried to identify what are the red flags in what you read. Like what, is there anything in this article that would make your antenna go up and question whether this is your trusted source for good health? So does anybody want to start by reading that front page? Anybody willing to take on? Go ahead. So if anybody, and as we go through this, if there's anything that you're kind of pops up for you, just speak up. May. That was the first thing we talked about yesterday. It's like, yeah, May. Like a lot of things may do something. All right. Great. Okay, so turning it over, can somebody read from the top where it says what is cerebra?
What is the cerebra is a active word supplement. It's reading or reading with that. And the bullet is top, food, clarity and purpose.
Yeah, you want, yeah, just go ahead and finish that.
The product supposed to supply ingredients in health, keep the user's brain healthy, focus advanced focus that is the real power to be and design, having it done. That's what we do what's really with our customer time. That's like studying to see the work.
Okay, anything stick out for you in that paragraph? Yeah, a lot. What?
Supposedly sublime.
Supposedly, I love that, very scientific, okay. Anything else? One trial, one human trial, right? Right, and like, most stuff needs replication. And we have no idea, one trial of what, 3 people, or, I mean, we have no idea what that study is, or even if it was peer reviewed or, you know, how well done it was, et cetera. Okay, anything else from that? What's that? The website? Oh, it's stable, yeah, it's a weird term, like, what is that? The constituents.
What the heck?
I guess I know the different ingredients, but why constituents? Yeah, I don't know. Is that like a pharmacy term? I don't know. I've never seen that. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. And who's the manufacturer? Does anybody want to read that? Go for it.
The company behind the product is called Boston Brain Science. They have a stable website with contacts and basic information about this point. However, important information regarding how the product works has not been shared.
Yeah, go ahead.
In addition, the manufacturer has this brain support supplement as their only supplement on the market, which may mean they specialize in brain support, or this is their entry product, and it's a no-brainer. In order to build trust with the public, the company would benefit from providing information on whether they are GMP certified facility, what standards they use, and where the company is located.
Right. Turns out, is that funny that it says Boston Brain Science? It's actually not located in Boston. That must be like, I don't know, they felt that would be more credible, like if you say you're in Boston, as opposed to, I forget where they're located, someplace in the Midwest, as I recall.
They probably have to say where.
Right. In the middle of nowhereville. And then that GMP certified facility, we have to look that up. They're doing. I think don't quote me, but I think it was something like general manufacturing process or product or something. It has to do with, I think, you know, ensuring that people who are putting supplements out there are meeting a certain standard as far as how they actually manufacture the supplement. Because there's been a lot of stuff out there about supplements and how, you know, companies say you're getting something. I mean, even if it was effective, but they say you're getting something, and then when they actually look at the actual product, they don't find that ingredient, or they find it at a different level, or all sorts of problems associated with it. Okay. All right. How does it work? Anybody want to take that one on? What we call it, like. Okay, go for it. Sure.
How does Cerebra supplement work? Cerebra highlights that each ingredient's composition has been researched to ascertain the potency and the actual importance in delivering the product promise. Each constituent in the formulation has standalone benefits for brain function, but they work in synergy to deliver stronger benefits both to cognitive function and general health. According to Cerebral reviews, the formula is all natural, which may be safe for long-term consumption. It is free of dairy products, gluten, peanuts, and fish, which suggest it may work without triggering
it sounds like, where it talks about the standalone benefits, it's like, look at each ingredient, maybe. Usually what I find with these is there are kernels of truth. So if I actually went back and looked up some of the ingredients, we'd probably find some animal research, maybe even human research. But usually it doesn't actually reach the level of evidence for something. And in this case, you know, they're talking about each ingredient. Maybe there's something out there in the literature, but they're assuming that they're making some assumptions that then if you put them all together, it's even better. And we know that that is often not, in fact, the case. In fact, some things actually work against each other. So no idea what happens when you not just take one ingredient, but you combine it with others. Okay, last section. Who's willing to take the last section, which is, yeah, good.
Paragraph and we are they safe and effective? But the phrase on verify is because the student teachers that may help with mental fatigue and improve their thinking, as well as support health and training function. It is lab tested, which suggests it may be safe to do. And precise, this product uses the below components that its main ingredient. Baconized extract. It is processed from the herb, the cola-monier, and may help boost anxiety, improve memory and consolidation, support clear vision, and improve learning. According to research notes, experience is it may sharpen a person's overall cognition. Sharp PS reading typically comes from the level resource and has cognitive benefits supporting mental strength and improve brain function. Only the three is widely researched for different cognitive benefits, according to the journal Human Psychopharmacology. Experience colon energetic. This component is associated with increased dopamine as well as the production of cortisol, qualities that support mental function according to the PCA. However, the research back in these principles is inadequate.
Where can I get this stuff?
I know. I don't know how much it costs, you know, from seeing it on TV. I have no idea. But the fact that they're advertising on TV says a lot. They must be making a lot of money because that is not cheap to advertise on TV. I mean, the supplement business is huge. So obviously it's working. And what was shocking to me, I guess it shouldn't be, but I pulled something from Harvard Health, and I'll leave these out here. I made copies, but I'll just leave them up here for you guys to grab. But this one from Harvard Health, which is from March of this year, found that about 25% of adults over age 50 take a supplement to improve their brain health. Not shocking. A quarter of people over. What's that?
Well, sure.
I think it's high. I'm shocked that up to 25% of people are taking supplements because there's no evidence base to any supplements.
I read a while back that the average person over 75 years old is taking 17 pills a day.
Yeah. Polypharmacy is a huge issue. Yeah.
So he knows
It's scary. Right. And you really don't know how, you know, when you say something's safe, I mean, anything herbal could be unsafe in combination with other medications. You really don't know. I mean, you'd have to talk to a pharmacist. So even though people think, well, the worst is that I'm losing money for no good reason, or, it can't hurt me. That actually isn't true. Some herbal things could potentially hurt you, so you have to be careful. The other thing with the supplements, I mean, if you come to any of Chea's talks, you've probably heard her say that even like the omega-3 fatty acids, which may in fact be beneficial, aren't necessarily beneficial as a supplement. You know, it may be critical that you're getting your omega-3 through a food product, not, you know, it may be something in combination with other aspects of the food. So there's nothing to really indicate that the supplement would actually be effective. And then you're also missing out on the other nutrients that you would get from having the food. So I just want to point out, I mean, I thought this was kind of interesting. I didn't go back to actually look up that article that they cite, because by and large, when I've actually done more due diligence and I've looked up articles, they usually do exist. And sometimes they actually are pretty decent journals, but their findings are usually very small compared to the claims that are being made about them as a reference for this sort of thing. So I wanted to just point out, though, I mean, obviously I was responding to a particular concern that somebody brought forward, and it was something that, you know, we could talk about with our group, but we're also trying to help people use your cognitive skills in looking at this information. Reading out loud is something that most of us don't do, and it's actually, it exercises some parts of your brain that you don't exercise when you're just reading to yourself, for example. Did you want to say something?
Well, I noticed that it's wrong. But I didn't.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice it. I don't think you did. I think you were fine. I think you're completely fine. So, yeah, no, you're on target. So reading out loud is good for you. Having a conversation with other people. So it's one thing, you know, anybody could find this. You could have done the same research I did and pulled it up and read it. That's good. But having the discussion, so engaging with the material that you're reading with other people is also very good cognitively. It challenges you to think of a way. First of all, you have to remember what you just read, try to understand it. Right. And for me, I can tell you, I've always been terrible about comprehension when I'm reading out loud. So that's been a good exercise for me. So, you know, you have to read it, understand it, remember enough. So that's using some working memory, remember it well enough to then translate it, you know, to talk about it with somebody else. Some of this is working on your vocabulary, which is actually one of the few things that gets better with age. We do tend to expand our vocabulary as time goes on. But also just being able to articulate it to somebody else will help you recall the information at a later time. So there's multiple things going on with some of our exercises that we do in the group. Based on the time, I'm just going to tell you kind of what we did for the rest of the agenda. I have we like to use mindfulness. We have a staff person who's really an expert on mindfulness, and we found it very helpful. She comes in once a month and does a presentation. And last month, it was really helpful. And I have to say it was personally helpful because one of our participants said she had gone on vacation. She said, I'm not going to travel anymore. That was it. That was the last time I was going to travel. She went and it was a big family reunion. She said it was too stressful. I can't do it again anymore. It's not worth it. And this is somebody who's very social and her family is really important to her. And so when Peg came, we decided that the topic was going to be mindfulness as applied to travel. And I could personally relate, because I was in the process of a big family reunion trip. And I was already stressed out, and I hadn't even left the ground. I'd already had 4 hours on the phone trying to resolve problems with JetBlue, which was really making me crazy. And after I thought I resolved it all, the week that we were supposed to be leaving, they sent me an email saying, we understand plans change, so your ticket is canceled. I was like, oh my Lord, bring in some mindfulness right now. It's crazy. Anyway, it was a whole series of things, but I have to say the mindfulness stuff that she had taught earlier in the week was really helpful because, it was all about how to kind of prepare yourself and how to stay calm in challenging situations when you're traveling. So this week, was not, we always incorporate some mindfulness into each class, but this week was not Peg coming to our group, but I handed out something that seemed really simple. And I was surprised that we actually practiced it and how powerful it was. So I'll just pass it out, tell you about it, and you can practice it on your own someday. I have just a simple book that has different mindfulness practices. And this one was just about mindful listening. And we actually had somebody in our Empower You group years ago who has since passed away. And he told me that he had a friend and they had been getting together every week for like decades. And every week was the same. They got together for an hour, and the first half hour, one of them would speak and the other would listen. No comments, no interruptions, no questions, no interjections. And then it would reverse roles, and the other person would do the same thing for him. And he talked about how incredibly deep their relationship was just from this experience of sharing every week. And it could be on any topic. So what we did yesterday was mindful listening, and we only did 5 minutes per person because we would not have had enough time. And I was surprised. Usually, our group goes to 1:30, and we got to, it was like, oh, wow, we just did that exercise. It's 1:30. You're like, no, I want to stay and talk about what just happened. And so we spent like another 15 minutes with people sharing kind of the power of having spent 5 minutes, either being listened to or listening to somebody else and what that did for them. So we practiced different things along those lines. And I think, anybody who's feeling with a cognitive issue or any sort of health problem, oftentimes what you feel like is you just want somebody to really listen and understand maybe what you're going through. But there's also potentially tension between family members that come up. Of course, they come up for any reason, but can be stressed by health issues. So this was another exercise in how, maybe somebody, sometimes people come back and they say, my spouse is driving me crazy. They're telling me I should no longer travel by myself anymore. So how would you actually go about improving your communication around that issue? And mindful listening is one way. So that's one thing we did. We did our exercise yesterday was Qigong. So we did Qigong exercises for about 15 to 20 minutes. And we had some other things on the agenda that we didn't get to. So that's the way it goes. We just kind of see, where we're at, and what people want to spend more time on, and then we'll pick up the next one. So, okay, it's 1:30. It's been an hour. Anybody have any questions with that? Okay, there being no questions. You are welcome to contact me directly if you're interested in participating in the Empower You group. For lifelong brain health, you go to PAT to register. And, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I appreciate y'all coming and staying for a whole hour. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm gonna get this stuff.